ready?
Yeah. Okay. We'll call the Newport City Council meeting to order for Monday, May 21st, 2018, 6:30 p.m. City Council room. All members of the council are present. Others include Jim Johnson, Clerk Treasurer, and Laura Dogan, City Manager. The next item is to approve the minutes of May 7th, 2018. Now would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 7th, 2018, as written.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. The next item is comments by members of the public. This is an opportunity for members to comment on items which are not on the agenda. Have to bear with me. I've been ill since Saturday, so my voice is, I'm trying to speak as loud as I can. Comments by members of the public. The first one is Pam Ladd.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Pam Laz, and tonight I'm speaking on behalf of Felines and Friends, which is a cat spay and neuter program. And this is a shout out of thanks to the fire department, Jamie, Claire, and the rest of that group. There was a cat stuck in the storm drain on 3rd Street. He's been there for 3 days. I'm not quite sure what happened with animal control, but somehow communication didn't go the way it was supposed to. We got a call, they got a call, and the whole community was there. The whole community was staring down the drain, trying to rescue a cat that was terrified by that point. What the fire department did was an amazing job in getting the cat out, getting everybody to step back, clear the hole, help the cat through, which took a hose pipe, I might add, which was really very funny, but the cat was fine at the end of it. The cat had been there for 3 days. But the other thing that was really wonderful about this, apart from the fire department, was the community really came together. They initially thought that, quote, somebody would just come in and take care of it, but that didn't happen. And what they did was organize. They organized themselves. They were feeding the cat down the hole. They organized organizations. They organized the fire department. And the cat got saved, which is great. Newport needs to recognize that its communities, they have so much strength. I mean, this is a community out there that tends to get written off. It shouldn't be. From that one event, Felines and Friends immediately inherited 5 cats, all of which got spayed and neutered. So the following week, I'm out there driving around picking up cats and taking them off for a quick snip. But the good news is, it's resolved. There's a lot less kittens in the world, and a cat that was trapped is out. And thank you to Jamie. Thank you.
Where did that take place?
It was on the corner of 3rd and Pleasant.
Okay.
And Robert from Public Works actually helped us out as well. We sent him down the hole.
They had to go back and get the fire truck with the hose, because that was the only way that cat was coming out.
Stubborn like some cats. My
Yeah.
cat's that way. Okay. Next was James Merriam.
Hi, 2 weeks ago I spoke to you about compost and solid waste management, and by a wonderful coincidence and serendipity, Pat Austin was here to talk to you about solid waste, including compost, and I look forward very much to his expertise contributing towards our ongoing process, and I am excited to have his knowledge. I had not met him before about hauling and about working in the Northeast Kingdom Solid Waste Management District, which has a great number of challenges because it is by far the largest and least populous district by area, generally in all of Vermont. And I hope that he lends this expertise, but also recognizes and that the council recognizes that we are in a very unique spot as by far the most densely populated solid waste management district in the entire state. Newport is 4 times more densely populated than Chittenden County as a whole, and as we are an independent waste district, our issues, our concerns, and especially the concerns of waste management within the densely populated center city, the urban center city, are really unique and are ones that we're going to have to tackle in our own way, kind of regardless of what direction we take, what we do, or how we feel. So I look forward to working on this after the centennial.
Thank you. Next, we have Michelle, Opiate Awareness Walk. Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle Rossi. We actually were supposed to be on the agenda for tonight, and for some reason we are not, so we may have signed up on the wrong list. Not so sure how that works.
So have you been working with Jess?
All of our paperwork was submitted by the 16th as she had asked for, but we still did not make the agenda this evening.
When's your date?
June 10th.
June 10th? I don't know what to say, but it would be better if we could put this on the June 4th agenda. I'm gonna see if I can get in touch with Jess to find out what the scoop is.
If we wait until the 4th, though, will that not allow us enough time to have our event approved because of the policy events, or the events policy that's now in place?
I think we'll have to work with you. I think we'll have to make that exception until I can get to the bottom of it. I don't know if I'll hear anything while you're standing either. Thank you.
But we'll make sure it's on the floor.
Yep.
Okay. Make a note so I don't forget either. Okay. We'll move on. The next item was the downtown designation investment vote. And we have Karen Garrity, who's gonna speak.
I guess I'm here to answer questions. As you'll recall, the last council meeting, we discussed the fact that the downtown organization, when we presented to the state, received redesignation to the downtown for 5 years through 2022. And as a strategy among many to provide financial support, that we originally proposed that we would share a position with the city. I just want to correct something that was in the Chronicle. This was not a position that was developed or a strategy that was developed between the city manager and myself. This was one of many Hail Mary passes that we threw at the state to try to get the organization funded. Originally, we wanted to perhaps join forces with the chamber, which had been done in St. Johnsbury to good effect. That request was denied because the chamber here covers many more communities than the St. Johnsbury chamber. Then we proposed, well, if we can't fund a position, we'll just take it all the way back, strip it back to a municipal commission. And that really is tough because that starts everything right at square one, and it loses all the work and all the momentum that the downtown organization had built over 10 years. So the state, of course, did not want to see that strategy either. So we said, well, the only way to fund this position is to do a shared position. And we thought that by combining the work with the downtown with capacity building in the city itself to do economic development more broadly for the city, that these positions could be nested within each other. But again, as the state pointed out and sort of strongly advised, the organization, the downtown organization, needs to be a non-governmental organization for various reasons. The state intends this program to be a non-governmental program, and you can do things in that type of structure that a city government can't do. And so we agreed that we would look to another strategy. So we are funding the position with the $30,000 that was allocated with the city. We've come back we, meaning the board of directors, have come back to see if the city would consider funding that $30,000 from the Walmart still to the downtown organization for the position. That's really the request before you tonight. The idea being that we need to get some capacity around development going in the city. And the downtown organization has received full approval from the state. They've been pleased with the work that's been done over the last 5 years, but we need the capacity to actually run the organization fully. So that is the request. Consideration of the Walmart funds, those funds really, I encourage the council and the community to think of those funds for strategic investments so that the return on the investment of those funds is larger than the funds themselves. So $30,000 from this fund will bring far more into the community than $30,000 to have somebody running that program effectively. So in thinking about the Walmart funds not being used just as a one-off to fund something, but as a strategic investment, and if it's not this, I don't know, perhaps the city is considering taking funds and hiring a full-time economic person. I don't know, but I'm just putting this before you as a consideration for the current position.
Question. Questions from county council members on this?
That is carrying just one position, not two, correct?
Right, not
Because
two.
I know it was reported at some point there was two people, no.
No, it's always been for one position, yeah. To really get the kind of person we need in that position, that type of salary needs to be put out there. So, yeah, no, it was not for two people. It'd be great if we had one for two people. We won't push it.
Thank you for the clarification.
And this person would be writing grants, working on various grants.
It'll be, yeah, the description, I think you all got copies of the position itself, so grant writing is part of it. And just for the general knowledge of the public, if they haven't seen the grant description, the board has adopted a strategic focus of developing the recreational economy, given all of the things that we're developing around Newport, Lily, and the opportunities we have to develop around that particular strategy. It's not the only strategy Newport will be looking at, but the downtown organization for the foreseeable future will be hiring somebody with experience in the recreational economy, whether it's business experience or organizational experience in developing that economy and linking businesses to that economy. So we look at our development of our bike paths, we look at the lake opportunities, the snowmobiling opportunities, hunting, fishing, golfing. I mean, we've got it all here, but they're not marketed as such as experiential opportunities for people, and that's really where we need somebody to drive that vision, to develop this particular train of thought. And the governor, of course, I think I mentioned before, has come out with an executive order around the Vermont Outdoor Recreational Economic Collaborative, and they're really recognizing the value of economic development around the recreational economy. And I think we all agree, because we live in such a beautiful spot, that we want to have the kind of economic development that doesn't change our way of being, that doesn't change our landscapes. And so doing the recreational economy in many ways dovetails with some conservation efforts. We look at our lakes and we say these need to be healthy for the lake itself, but also for the recreational activities on the lake, the land in the same way. And so we really need to, if we want to live this kind of life, we need to be able to look at strategies that can allow us to enjoy it, but also be economically sustainable and have a healthy baseline business economy in this area. So this is one strategy that we're proposing, and it provides a good focus, I think, for the downtown and for the community members who will be involved, to be involved in that type of forward development.
Great. At this time, I support using the Walmart funds for this position. It kind of ties into the agreement that we have for the funds. It ties in for the economic development, and so I would recommend that we have a motion to approve the $30,000 from the Walmart funds to go towards this position.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The The ayes have it, motion carries.
Great, well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We hope to have good news for you on the hiring fairly soon. We're getting very good applications, so it's kind of, you can feel the turn. It's an exciting time for Newport. So we'll keep you posted. Stay tuned.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. The next item, appointment for Planning Commission and Development Review Board. At this time, we had recommendations for each position, but as with the duties of the council, we have the right to interview each candidate for the Planning Commission. This is a council appointment, and we do have that right to interview the candidates. This is something that has been done in the past, maybe not in the past few years, but it has been done in the past. And so, at this time, if the council so chooses, we would need an executive session to interview the candidates. If you so choose to interview in executive session.
Mr. Mayor? It seems to me that this appointment would be made by the council, and yet this council member hadn't been consulted in bringing the candidates back to be interviewed. I feel that it's very bad practice to ignore the recommendation of the Planning Commission, who went through a very thorough interview process and made their recommendation for, I don't know who, to say, well, we don't trust you, so we want to do some interviewing ourselves, is, I feel, really disrespectful. And I don't understand how this got on the agenda when it's the council's decision to appoint or not appoint.
I have to agree with the mayor, though. It makes sense if we're appointing somebody to a commission that we're going to be working closely with. It makes sense to see who's put in for it and what their positions are, and can we in fact work well with them.
I think we're doing a process that duplicates what's already been done. I have a strong trust in the people that are on those boards. And they're the ones that are gonna have to work with these people, not us. So if there's somebody that they feel fits with them, I think we should accept that and not go on our own merry way looking for something maybe that we don't like.
Well, I don't think it's that, Dan. I think it's more getting to know the people. I unfortunately don't know any of them. A lot of, no, Colin and James, but to know their positions or
The other gentleman
qualifications.
has been an alternate on the board for a number of years. So,
I mean, the planning of the DRB.
So, I just, why ask for a recommendation if we're not gonna accept it? And for me, of course, I know all of them, but, and it's true. Maybe we don't know each individual person.
And it's not that I'm second guessing anybody. It's just I don't know anybody.
Dennis, do you have something?
Yeah,
Because I coughed. Cough all over you.
I've got more questions regarding the process that's occurred up to this point, more than I do about the individuals that are applying for the position. I would like to know more information on how certain things transpired to get to this point.
As far as the recommendation,
That being one of them, yes.
You want to know the process the planning commission went through for their recommendation?
That's part of it. But I won't get too much into it at this point. If we go into executive session, then I'll dig into it.
This is a council discussion right now.
Well, before you go into executive.
Excuse me, this is a council discussion right now. I'm not taking any questions unless there's a motion. That's the policy of the council. If there's a motion, then we'll take questions. If there's a motion and a second, I'm following the procedure that I follow every week. And there's no questions unless there's a motion.
Mr. Mayor, then I will make the motion that we enter into executive session for the purposes of exploring the appointment of a public officer pursuant to 1 VSA 313 3A3.
The motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion from council members?
Are we going to invite the chair of one of the commissions in here, or, I mean, we're discussing how they made their decision, so I don't think we should do it without them.
Agreed.
So a motion been made and seconded. And
I just had a couple of comments. I was present at the Planning Commission's interview of the two candidates. I certainly thought it was fair. I thought both were heard. And I'm astonished. In the 10 years that I've lived in Newport, I have never seen the council second guess in any way, shape, or form a decision made by the Planning Commission as to who would be appointed. Some of you have sat on the commission or on the zoning board, as I understand it, and I doubt whether or not when you were recommended, they tried to second guess you. And I think it's atrocious that instead, if you decided this was your new system and that you were going to do all the interviewing, that's one thing. But you told the Planning Commission to go out, to advertise, to get candidates, to bring them in, to interview them, and they did that and make a recommendation to you about who was the best candidate. And now you're undermining your own Planning Commission? I think it's outrageous. I think James, who was present as one of the candidates, if he thinks that the Planning Commission had integrity, should withdraw at this point, because this should not be before the City Council. He intends to work with this, if he intends to work with this Planning Commission, he must have thought they had integrity. And if he has integrity, then he should withdraw. He should recognize that a judgment was made, and that's it. And that the candidate who was chosen and recommended is the candidate who should become the Planning Commission next person. And if you don't know these people, and presumably you don't know a lot of people that are on the Planning Commission, go to the Planning Commission, meet them outside of it, meet them during the meetings, you'll get to see what they sound like and how they think.
okay, thank you.
You got it.
Mr. Schmidt.
I don't think we're trying to undermine the work of the Planning Commission. We're just trying to get more information. Because there have been questions raised by events that have happened.
Yes.
I think there are some serious questions raised, and I'm really glad that you're saying that, Dennis. The questions about how process happens, how it gets changed, and by whom is a really serious question. If the procedure up until now, it has been in the 10 years that I've been here, and I go to every Planning Commission meeting, and I have not seen anything there that's slimy, underhanded, or skeevy in any way. So if that's what your question is, their process for the interview was fair, it was appropriate. So how is it that suddenly, when the recommendation comes to apparently you, Mr. Mayor, and the city manager, no discussion with the city council, it suddenly becomes a question. That's really curious, and I would be asking a lot of questions about that. It doesn't seem right. That's certainly not what you've done before. And true, you had two candidates who were good, one of whom had attended a lot of the meetings. And you're going to go against that? That's really weird. Really weird.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Mr. Mayor? I would like the question answered. How did this get on the agenda when it's the council's decision to appoint another?
It's my decision to put on the agenda what.
Why?
Shall I get into what we received? No, it really should be executive session. It should be executive session, the email I received. And so I just think that we need to have that in executive session. Nope, I'm done taking questions. That's why. I
This is a
received a
comment.
copy of
Can
an
this be a
email.
public session? There is no reason for it to be an executive session. What are you covering up?
I'm not covering up. All right, I'll read the email in public. I have no problem reading the email. I still have it here. I don't know if I do. I might have left it at home. I used to have it on my email here. Basically, the email I received was from the chair of the planning commission, basically saying if this council does not go along with their recommendation, 2 members are going to quit. I take that as a threat. I really do. No, let me finish. I do. I take that as a threat. I really do. If I get an email that says unless you do this, 2 of the members of the commission are going to quit and then we're not going to have a commission, I take that as a threat. And I don't like threats. I personally don't like
You
threats.
threaten all the time.
Excuse me.
You threaten to throw us out all the time. Welcome.
Excuse me. I didn't ask you to speak. Mr. Schneck, would you like to speak?
Let me just put it to you this way. If I went to one of my past employers and I said to them, you're gonna hire this friend of mine because I want them in the job, and if you don't hire them, I'm gonna quit, I can tell you exactly where I would be within 5 seconds of making that statement. And it wouldn't be employed by them.
Has that employee gone through an interview process? What you just described tells me, no, you threatened them, either hired or not. We're talking about 2 people that went through an interview process and the whole committee said, we want person A. That's totally different from what you're saying. And the fact of the matter is, it's really threatening to them what you're doing now. They came to you and said, we interviewed these people, here's whom we chose. All we want is the council's approval. We didn't ask for the mayor or the city manager's approval, we asked for the council's approval to follow through what we recommended.
Now,
Can I ask one
That-
question?
No,
You're
no.
even-
Excuse me, Mr. Schneck speaking, and then Mr. Ross.
now that is true. The suggestion was made to us, and the next thing I know is there's a threat out there saying that if we don't go along with that decision, 2 other members will quit.
So,
We didn't even have a chance to have it brought before us.
why not?
So that's what I want to know, that's one of my questions.
Good.
Why wasn't it even brought to us before somebody
Exactly.
made the threat?
Exactly.
So that's not our fault, that's from somebody out there.
No,
No, in that.
No, that came from without.
okay,
It's not
that's
anything I
fine.
can-
Excuse me, let him finish, and then Mr. Ross.
And I'm
This is
done.
not a back and forth. Mr.
Okay,
Ross.
So I have a question, you probably won't like it. Did you share this information with Dennis? Did he know about the email?
I shared it with the president of the council.
Okay, but no one else, right?
Well, it was meant to be confidential. It was so stated in the letter.
Huh?
Confidential with
Confidential
him?
from the council?
No, confidential from who I received it, but then I felt strongly enough that I should share it with the president of the council.
Absolutely.
you know, how does this email, and you guys wanting to know how the process happened, how does that represent executive session material? What is the cornerstone that you have that says you have to talk about it in private?
Well, we're talking about it in public now, so we're talking about it in public.
I think,
Go.
if I may, because of the initial request that it be confidential, that's why it would have been taken to be held in executive session from one board to another.
Under the state statutes, because someone doesn't want something to be discussed in public session, you don't actually get to make that decision. If a public official, makes a statement about his or her official duties, that should be a public matter. And I think if there's a question about whether that was a proper thing to do or not, this isn't a personnel matter. This is simply a policy dispute, and that, in my view, is the essence of what should be discussed in public. I mean, if someone's embarrassed by something they said, that happens in life. Lord knows it happens to me all the time.
Charlie?
I'm listening to people's comments, but I would just like to point out that following Vermont statutes, the procedure is for the planning commission to nominate, the council votes them in, and the council has the right to vote in who they want. That's Vermont statute. You're not proposing to do anything, it's in violation of Vermont statutes.
I just was curious what the timeline was on all of this, because it was my understanding that the appointment of the new planning commission member should have taken place at your last meeting. So was this email sent after that didn't occur? Because that could have precipitated a reaction of you're not respecting the planning commission's choice by not voting, you know, basically rubber stamping, as you have done for years, the planning commission's choice, which it seemed as if there was some obfuscation from the planning commission's point of view. I'm speaking for myself, because why was, it's always been, we make the recommendation on our date, your next council meeting, it comes up, it's on the agenda, the person gets voted in, done deal. All of a sudden, you know, there were all these accusations flying around of why it wasn't on the agenda, but none of them really held a lot of water. And so it appeared as if that there was some effort to ignore what the process had been for years in appointing people to the planning commission.
It was not in writing nor requested of the city manager or myself.
It was voted on.
But it wasn't requested.
Part of the minutes.
No, it wasn't requested of the city manager or myself to have it as an
It was
agenda
in the minutes.
item.
Zoning administrator was asked to do it. I
Yeah,
heard it.
it was-
I heard it.
Well, I'm not gonna get into an argument back and forth.
But when
It
was this email?
Excuse me, let me finish. It was not requested, and that's why it wasn't on the last agenda.
It was of the zoning administrator.
Not of me or the city manager.
But you
I didn't
knew.
get anything in writing or a phone call or anything asking for it to
And the minutes go
be.
through the city manager's office, and it was clearly in the minutes, so
Well,
why wouldn't that be honored? And then, so my question goes back to, when did your email that concerned you appear? Was it after the last council meeting?
go ahead.
We would have initially heard it on the May 7th evening meeting. And that evening, our docket was very full. As a matter of fact, we did not leave here till 10. Then, according to your minutes, Planning Commission minutes, May 15th, is when it says here that the appointment wasn't on the agenda to the PC, planning PC. Okay, anyways, it seems that some city officials are questioning our choice for the open position and may decide to appoint themselves, I'm assuming other people, not us, ignoring the choice of the PC. He was also told that the agenda for council meeting on May 7th was full. That's correct. Now, I don't know where it came from that it seems that some city officials are questioning our choice. I'd like to know who was the one that made that statement. One of my questions that I would like to find out the answer for. And that we were going to hold our own appointment. Not necessarily true. Now, when the memo came out that two people were stating that they were going to quit if we didn't make that appointment, I don't know exactly what the date was on that, but really, that statement should never have been made until we had a chance to have that come before us. And that's another one of my questions.
But what did that email with that accusation, I don't know anything about that email, okay, so I don't know anything about it. All I wanted to know was, did that email come after this was not addressed on the council meeting where it was intended?
I'm not sure.
That would be important to know, I think.
That's one of the questions I want to have answered.
Yeah. So does the mayor know? Because he's got his emails right there on
I'm
his
trying to
phone.
find it.
Mr. Mayor, you have a motion and a second on the floor. Your executive session 1 VSA 313-3A3 specifically is about appointments and reviewing candidates. I would like you to fulfill your motion so you can go into executive session, and I'd like to be addressed. It's a personnel issue, clearly, because when you come out, you are going to make a decision.
Mr. Mayor, could you move the motion?
Okay, then we all those in favor?
I have one, I'm not sure, I didn't expect that to happen, but in all other interview processes, we've had the interviews in public session and then deliberation in executive session. Why would we not do it that way this time?
It's the choice of the council. I mean, we could vote this motion up, and if we don't vote it up, then we can have another motion if you so choose. So we have a motion on the floor, and Mr. Ross asked that we vote on the motion. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
I will vote aye.
Of course. That's not nice. Really.
Okay, motion, we're going to go in executive session. Okay. Is it morning, Mr. Johnson? We're on? All right, we're now going to go to appointment to planning commission and DRB 5B. We need a motion for the appointment to the planning commission first, and then we need a motion for the appointment to the DRB.
I'd like to make the motion, but I work with Colleen, so I'd
Okay.
rather not be the one to make the motion.
I will make a motion that Colleen Seymour George to fill a vacancy on the planning commission as recommended.
Motion been made, is there a second? Made and seconded. Discussion on that motion.
This is on the DRB?
This is the planning commission,
Planning commission.
and this is to fill the vacancy of Mr. Ross. Correct? Yes. So a motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Shinet?
It also states that that position would be on the Historic Preservation Commission.
Yes. That is correct.
Okay, and my question on that is there a reason why it's not listed in the city report?
Oh, probably because I forgot it.
Okay. since it's the same members apparently, and both, or the members on one commission serve on the other, maybe it's just a matter of you can have the
Yeah, I
space.
didn't realize it.
Okay,
I forgot it.
all right, no problem.
So a motion's been made, seconded, any other discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, motion carries. The next is to appoint a member to the DRB. And the recommendation from the chair of the DRB was Jay Ganya. And we need a motion if you so choose.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Sorry, a motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on that appointment? And all those in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. All right. Okay, that was, the next item is authorization to prepare the next tax sale and use city attorney. Oh, thank you. Oh,
Or refill it.
sorry, I hate being sick, being a cold and allergies. All right, the next is authorization to prepare the next tax sale and use city attorney. Oh, are you going? Oh. Oh.
The challenges of old school technology.
That'll teach you without going into the digital age.
I guess so.
Oh, no.
Oops.
No, don't worry, I can rewind that.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's not broken.
Yeah, you can if you're very careful.
Yeah, you can.
Can you still buy them?
I remember doing that to one of my favorite
They're
music.
cheap, they're cheap.
One of my favorite cassettes at the time, rewinding it by hand very carefully.
With pencil.
All
Okay,
right,
yeah, okay.
we're going?
Yeah.
All right, so Laura,
Our city charter requires we do 2 tax sales a year. We did one in April. Time goes by so fast. We're starting to build the list for the next one. So as a formality, I need to ask the city council to authorize the next tax sale and to use the city attorney to do so. We put it in the agenda, we put it in the minutes, and then we send a copy to the city attorney.
so we would need a motion for that.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
A motion made by Mr. Shinet, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ross. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, oh, well, we'll vote on, oh, go ahead.
This is pretty simple. Do you have a date for the next tax sale?
No.
Oh, okay, thank
It takes
you.
a lot of time to put it together.
Okay, I just didn't know whether there were set times.
No, there's also opportunities, there's standard wait times before you can do things.
Okay,
Generally, you mail a letter first,
We
and
get
they have a
them.
chance to,
Yeah, and they have multiple chances.
right, right.
okay.
Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. The next item is to amend and adopt municipal policies and codes for the VACCD planning grant drawdown. And you received in our packet all the policies that needed to be updated. Does council members have any questions on the policies that needed to be updated? One of them, back here. Go back here. We had to update the equal employment opportunity policy, fair housing policy, the use of excessive force policy, the drug-free workplace act of 1988 policy, and the subrecipient oversight management policy. those policies had to be updated with new language to meet the HUD requirements.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get the terminology. So if there's no questions on it, we could have a motion to approve it, to approve the updates, and then we go ahead and sign the updated policies.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't get a copy of the fair housing policy in my packet, but I'm assuming that should be all right.
Is it on the back of one of yours by any chance? Double-sided?
On page 2.
Just wondering if you got it?
We didn't get the original, to sign
Okay.
for some
Yeah,
strange
that
reason.
just explains
Okay.
it. Yeah, we don't have the one to sign, that's right.
So,
We have all the others.
if you look at the fair housing policy in the document, the main document, the municipal policies and codes, it's the language taken right out of there. And I have to figure out why you don't have it, because you need to sign it. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna run into my office for a second.
Okay.
Bear with me.
If you notice, the policies originally were created and adopted in August of 2000, so it's been a while. And I believe we had to come up with these, if my memory serves me correct. Same thing, we had a grant back then, and that required various policies.
You can just sign those over for a few years, actually.
Yeah.
Different administrations.
Right. The equal employment opportunity was 2011, but all the others were 2000.
So is the idea you have to have equal opportunities, you have to have fair housing, and you have to use force?
Trying to put a little humor into it. I won't even.
That's how I read it, sure.
Sure, okay, John.
The law's the law.
Can you tell me who updated the excessive force policy? Is it done by the city or somebody else?
It would be done by the city.
So did a particular member of the city do it?
I would assume it was the city manager who we rely on to update policies and present policies to the city council.
Is there an
She's
extra
probably-
copy of the excessive force policy that I could look at?
Sure. You want a copy of the old and the new?
Ah, that'd be great. I'll give it right back. I just want to take a brief look. Thanks.
I'm assuming, she's not here to answer the question, but I'm pretty sure she would have consulted with the chief of police also on it.
Only in the state.
And the state, and also the league usually has model policies that we follow.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
Is it okay, Dennis?
Sure.
I'll look at it.
Seems Jim uses a washboard for his laundry. Kevin said it,
I
actually.
don't wanna
You're
miss
so
anything.
lucky.
Did you hear that, Nicole? Nicole, did you hear what Kevin said? Jim uses a washboard for his laundry?
I'm watching them try to do this.
I don't wanna miss anything.
So instead of taking your time tonight, we have a policy dated August of 2000.
Right.
Right.
But I apparently overlooked this one when I put the packet together. We want to make sure, and Dan, I'm going to need your eyes here. Sorry about this. We want to make sure that all of those, on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, or sex.
Isn't there a gender?
Not for the fair housing policy, because I've got the most recent language right here. We got
It's over here.
religion,
The sentence is just for range difference.
okay. All right. And we don't deny anybody based on housing. Providing facility services, financial aid, or other benefits that are different, which have an inclusionary or discriminatory effect, will take all necessary and appropriate actions to prevent discrimination in housing and housing-related activities. All right.
So they have 10 bullets.
Yeah, we don't need all 10.
I just was curious, the fair housing portion is more or less on the assumption that Newport might be the kind of city that would actually have a housing office of its own?
I don't think that's the intent of this. This is drawdown for HUD funds. So in order to draw down our HUD funds, which are the Vermont Community Development Program funds, that's the source,
Uh-huh.
we need to make sure that our policies are all up to date, and if they are, which was the purpose of tonight, then we sign another form indicating that they're all up to date. So the fair housing policy, what I would ask the council to do is, you've got this main form. It's multiple pages long, but I would recommend that we adopt it as it's written in the form, which is on page 2. That way we're not overlooking anything, because I had intended to, I didn't realize I had omitted that one in my work product for you.
That is his that's his 7-page document that has all the,
It has everything.
has all the policies
So,
in it.
so if we sign page 7, that's gonna be all encompassing, as opposed to each individual one, which we can sign at any time.
Well, yes, but yes, you're actually true, so then I could put this on for the next policy, the next meeting. So what I would ask you to do is sign the policies that you have.
And page 7 of the first right there.
Yes, but it's 2 different motions. So basically, what I'm asking you to do is to update. Go to the cover page. I'm asking you to update the equal employment opportunity policy, use of excessive force policy, drug-free workplace, and subrecipient oversight management policy. The ones that don't need to be updated are the policy on the use of funds for federal lobbying and code of ethics for the administration. So that would be the first motion.
Nope, we don't have that one in this one. And I overlooked it because I read all this and saw that this was the same, so I didn't go back and, sorry. Well, I read it here and I didn't put two and two that we're missing it over here.
So I'll make that motion to accept those that you just stated, and with the exception of fair housing.
So a motion's been made, is there a second? Made, seconded, discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Sign the right line, Mr. Ross.
That's the one I hear say. Yeah, I get you for that.
Pretty well.
He just wants to be.
Take all those. Thank you. Pass that down. This needs to be checked, City of Newport. Log this in, type it. And Laura, this is a separate motion, right?
That's a separate motion, separate document.
Yeah.
I don't know whose notes that, it's maybe Dan's.
That's Dan, you patched your notes down.
Didn't read them, did you?
Nope.
Nope.
We'll just use that information for extortion purposes.
Okay. I'll give that much to you. And then the next motion would be to approve this municipal policy and codes for Form MP-1. That is actually the paperwork from the VACCD, Vermont Community Development Program. That it actually includes all the policies.
Yes, this is what I need to upload on our website.
So we would need a motion to approve this.
Please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion made by Mr. Shinet, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Ross, discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. We didn't have one with all the names typed, so we just,
I would just let Dan go first.
today's the 21st.
21st.
21st day of May. 218. Can you print?
I see if I remember.
Okay. I'll give you that part.
Sure.
Don't feel bad. This debate I used to stack it up.
It was better than putting an X, which you used to do on the government stuff.
Dick Wick?
Yeah, just
Okay.
all the officers knew was him.
Okay. making Ed sick, he's coughing now.
No, I got it from Jim a couple weeks ago.
You.
From you, I got it from you.
I must have gotten it from both of you.
I think you got that one mixed up.
My bad.
Okay.
I'll write it correctly.
Okay, moving on. New business, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Rebo. I don't have anything new. Mr. Shinet.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The digital sign that's going up on the causeway, was a permit required for that sign?
Yes,
Okay, and we did get that.
yes,
Okay. So it meets the setbacks from the road and the river?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And bids. I'm gonna assume we must have continuous bids for services. Do those bids ever run out? Like, are they on a yearly basis where somebody has to rebid? And I'll give you a for instance, let's say garbage pickup. Do we have that on a contract, like a yearly contract where somebody bids or anything?
We don't put those out for bid, our continuous services.
Okay,
We have one policy in place, and it's regarding grants management, that says anything over 15,000 we need to put out for bid.
okay. So that would also include, say, if you were to use a company like, well, let's say Bianchi Memorials versus Heritage Memorials, unless it's over 15,000, you don't.
If it was grant funded,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
That's all I have then. Thank you.
And I did see the P on the old sign till the high winds blew it away that night.
He did put another one out there.
Yeah.
So maybe the second one got blown out too.
It was there the night before and they had all that high winds and tornado watches and all that, and then when the windstorm came through, it blew it away, because I commented to Laura how I had vanished.
How big is this sign gonna be? Let's look at those 12-foot concrete pillars.
Yeah, the sign itself, I want to say is 8 feet long, electronic, so they're putting in a lot of the conduit. And a masoner from Morgan is available to do the stonework. Should be very beautiful when it's done. And we expect it to be done just prior to the centennial, so it's going to be cutting it close. Right now, the concrete is curing, and it has met the specifications of the donor. So we've been working with them, and they've approved the wording, and it's going to say bienvenue as well as welcome. And hopefully they'll come during the centennial. They let me know that he's not feeling well, so there's a chance he won't come, which would be very sad. So we do have some structure in place for the dedication. And we also have a statement from him that you and the mayor are going to read at the memorial parade
Yeah, I'm gonna read it right at the Memorial Day
Yeah.
ceremony. I'm
to
gonna
honor
read
the bench.
to honor the bench
Which is
that was
beautiful, so.
by the same donor.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be a success.
Any other anything else?
Not for me.
No, anything? Any new business?
Now I have a hold.
Old business? Mr. Charbonneau? Ms. Rebo? I have nothing. Mr.
Madam
Smith?
Chair?
Mr. Ross, any old business?
I just want to announce that the next and final meeting for the waterfront and downtown master plan grant has been scheduled for June 13th. That's going to be 6 to 8, and it's going to be at the Career Center. So make a note of that. We're going to start doing our announcements about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's which evening?
It's June 13th, I want to say it's a Wednesday. And that would be a meeting, if you can make it, you'd want to hear their presentation. Because they're going to take the community walk information and then that evening meeting, and they're going to put some concepts on paper. So I think that would be an interesting one to attend.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Then the next council meeting will be Monday, June 4th at 6:30 PM. And the Centennial Planning Committee, May 31st, 5 to 7 PM here in the council. And now we need an executive session pending contract, 1 VSA 313 A1A and A1E. We need a motion. That's the two-step. Gonna make the motion? Okay. Motion made, is there a second? Seconded. Then any discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. And if there's any action, we'll have her email you.
Okay.
I thought that was the question you might ask.
No, I wasn't gonna ask any questions.